Welcome back to First Things First. Undisputed is coming up at 9:30 sharp. Jamie Maggio in for Jenny Taft. Jamie, good morning to you. What's on the show today?
Good morning, Jenna. Coming up on Undisputed, do the Lakers need to fire Luke Walton in order to make the playoffs? And is it time for my New York Giants to move on from Odell Beckham Jr.? Plus, the White Mamba, Brian Scalabrine, is in studio with us to talk about Kyrie Irving's future in Boston. Undisputed coming up next. Jenna, back to you.
All right, Jen, thanks. Time for us to go viral. Check this out. Last night, Dirk Nowitzki and D-Wade exchanging jerseys. These two have had some epic battles over the years, including facing off in the NBA Finals twice. Here they go.
This is great.
Yep.
Two of the 18 greatest players in the history of professional basketball, Dirk Nowitzki and Dwayne Wade. Two guys. Dwayne won his first title by winning 3 consecutive games against Dirk's Dallas Mavericks when they were heavily favored. And then Dirk won his first title by winning 3 consecutive games against Dwayne's Miami Heat when they were heavily
not
favored.
Dwayne's Miami.
Well, I mean,
LeBron James gifted him. He should be back there giving Dirk the way he gave him that championship.
Listen, I'm trying
sitting
to make
over
it
in the
about
corner,
these two guys.
sucking his thumb and everything.
You tell me
Get
all
that
the
is the
time.
story. I got a blind reveal.
See, everybody knows LeBron fell apart in the 2011 finals. Since then, it's the greatest 8-year run in the history of basketball. But I wasn't trying to bring LeBron into the story. I was trying to make it about these two retiring legends. You always trying to bring LeBron up when he's not part of the story. See, I've been talking to you about that. It's not all about LeBron James.
Yeah, that's my problem.
It's a lot that's
They're tall
tucked in.
people, Jenna.
Well, I know, but they must tuck in a lot.
They're tall.
Back to the Lakers now, who enter the break in 10th place in the West. 3 games out of the last playoff spot. What's the card you have, see? The young guys aren't improving the
But
rotation.
we're paid to talk.
Yeah, we are. They're not improving. The rotation, that's not gelling. And as a result, many have speculated, including us here at the desk, that Luke Walton's job may be in jeopardy. But according to a report, Walton will definitely finish the season and has the full support of the team's front office. Nick, what do you make of this decision?
It's not shocking, but I think it's the wrong decision. The plan was for Luke Walton to, at the very least, get this entire year to see what he can do. With LeBron and the young guys, with a real playoff contending team. And I understand the reasons why you would say, has he really gotten the year? Even at the end of this year, will they say, did he really get the year, given the injuries? And I know, you can lay all those out. But whether it's the tangible or the intangible, to me, there's been enough evidence against Luke Walton that firing during the All-Star break would have made sense and would have been the right move for the team. The tangible is, what are their rotations? Does anyone know? Can you explain why you were more cautious with LeBron's minutes before he got hurt than you've been after he got hurt? The intangible, where is the player development? Where is the focus in a home game against the Knicks, in a home game against the Cavs, before you had the distraction of the potential trades, right? Before you had maybe something that was out of your control. And what I believe would be added benefit of, if you fire Luke Walton, even if you want to say it would have been a casualty, it's not all his fault, of giving the team a jolt when they are fighting to get into the playoffs, which would be, even if it's just 4 or 5 games in the playoffs, valuable for those young guys to see how they perform in a playoff environment and in a playoff push. For all those reasons, and because I don't have a lot of evidence that Luke Walton is actually a good NBA coach, I would have fired him this week. It does not look like the Lakers are going to.
What was the Lakers' record when LeBron James missed those 18 games?
They were in 4th place, 21-15. The day he got hurt. So after that win against the Warriors, I believe they were 21-15.
And up until that point, I would say we were satisfied with the Lakers with how they looked on the court, the style for which they were playing, what they were trying to attack, what they were trying to accomplish, even if we still didn't like the overall development of those players. So at that point, Christmas Day, they even beat the Warriors with LeBron being hurt in that game. So we wouldn't have fired him that day. They were in the 4th spot in the playoffs. Let's go back to last Thursday. Trade deadline. What if they trade for Anthony Davis? Do they fire him then? Do they trade for Anthony Davis, then fire Luke Walton?
No.
Oh, okay. So because the front office couldn't trade for AD, then Luke Walton is getting ready to suffer. Because we started this whole free agency with LeBron. The word was patience. We might not be able to get someone else in year number 1 potentially, but The summer is what we're looking forward to. We haven't even made it to that summer. So I don't think it's fair to fire him based on LeBron missed 18 games, Rondo missed 34 games, Ingram missed 11 games, Lonzo missed 10 games. Now, this last 26, 25 games, it's an important stretch for them. What can LeBron James do with a healthy Lakers roster? That should determine what Luke Walton's fate. Now, for those who want to argue, man, the younger players haven't developed. Okay, I'm willing to listen to that because that will get you fired. On the other point, some of these outings where they were not engaged, since Lonzo's been hurt, their lack of defense, those types of things will get you fired in the NBA. I just believe with a healthy roster, if they just had the normal NBA injuries, we wouldn't be trying to fire Luke Walton right now.
What would the Lakers have to do to save Luke Walton's job? Would it be make the playoffs? Would
You mean to make him the coach for next season?
Forward, yes.
Well, listen, if they avoid the Warriors in the first round, either by getting the 7th seed or as you pointed out yesterday, what's on the board, that the Warriors could drop to the 2 line.
Yes.
Last night's loss makes it at least slightly more on the board. If they are the 8th seed and beat the 1 seed Nuggets, then you're going to bring Luke Walton back. But that's another reason why I would have wanted to fire him now. Because I don't think Luke Walton is going to be the coach of the Lakers at the end of next season.
Yeah, I think that's kind of leaning you towards let's do it now. If you don't think, because I don't know how good of a coach Luke Walton is. I don't think he's a bad coach. And I think it's impossible with the offseason. When you go out and hire, you get Lance Stevens, you go out and get Rondo. Rondo's missed 34 games. And Lonzo, your starting point guard. Forget about the backup, but that leadership and Lonzo being out, that has hurt the Lakers, and it's hurt Luke's ability that I believe to put the best product for the Lakers out there.
Real quick, I don't think Luke Walton's a good coach, but you know who it matters, who thinks he's a good coach? Jeannie Buss. And this story that had one very prominent anonymous source who would know, it sure feels like to me this was Jeannie Buss. Because if this was Magic or Pelinka, they wouldn't want to be anonymous. They would want to put their name. Luke Walton is our coach.
Yeah.
Jeannie Buss she's the owner of the team now, and she has said, I'm going to stay out of this. This is up to Magic and Rob, but I like Luke. Remember, she's the one that hired Luke.
Yep.
To me, this article in the LA Times, it wasn't Woj, it wasn't a national reporter, it was the LA Times. It struck me as Jeannie Buss letting the Lakers know, okay, Luke's our guy. Even I told you guys you could fire him, but I'm now anonymously, in my opinion, telling the newspaper, he's going to be our coach.
All right, let's get back to yesterday's big NFL news. Joe Flacco heading to Denver in return for what's reported to be a 4th-round pick. Flacco's the odd man out in Baltimore this season when the Ravens turned to Lamar Jackson. So John Elway now bringing in yet another quarterback in what has become a carousel of mediocrity at the position. CC, what do you make of this trade for Denver?
To me, it speaks 2 things very, very loud. That Fangio, the new coach, one of the few defensive coaches that was able to be able to get one of those 8 spots that were available, even though now we're trending towards young offensive coaches. He's an old, crusty defensive coach, out of the norm. So John Elway hiring him, he's allowed him to have some type of influence on what style of football are they going to play. So they told me in making this trade, they're going to be a defensive dominated team. We know that they have a nice running back. Their offensive line, they sustained some injuries last season. Get that offensive line healthy. We're going to run the football, have a formidable defense, and also have play action pass with Joe Flacco, because that's what he does best. That's play action, running attack, where you have less reads, throwing the ball down the field because he's got a big arm. You play in bad weather. Kansas City might get some bad weather. In Denver, you get some bad weather. He has the more suitable arm style and ball type to be able to be successful playing in Denver. So he lets me know, the coach, because he's familiar with Flacco, he's able to pick his quarterback for the short term.
Fangio was in Baltimore when Flacco first started. That's why you.
And they're identifying to their fans and to the organization, this is the style of team we're going to have. We got good defensive players, especially up front. Last year, drafted Chubb, defensive lineman, great pick. We got Von Miller still in his prime. That's how we would win the next Lombardi.
What it says to me is, once again, John Elway cannot figure out the position he made the Hall of Fame playing. Here's Joe Flacco against other starting quarterbacks over the last 6 seasons. On the left-hand side is what he did in the playoffs to get that contract. On the right-hand side is what he's done since then. Every single one of those categories, he is dead last in the NFL.
Oh.
On the bright side, he's expensive. He's going to be $19 million this year. $19 million for Flacco, plus $10 million that Case Keenum's going to be on your cap to cut him or trade him, to have him not on your team. The Broncos next year are going to have more cap space allocated to the quarterback position than any team in the league other than the Saints. Second most expensive against the cap quarterback room will be in Denver, despite having what those numbers say is the least productive starting quarterback. They don't have a plan for the future now. He's old. He's also on a year-to-year deal. They're going to move on from Keenum. They sign Case Keenum at $18 million per. He plays just like Case Keenum. That's not good enough. Flacco is tall, and that's the only box he checks. He won a Super Bowl, too, 7 seasons ago. That doesn't buy you a lot in 2019, except for, I guess, one more year making $19 million. The story of the Broncos next year, I believe, will be the same it's been the last 4 years since Peyton left, which is, man, they got a lot of talent, and they can't win games because John Elway can't figure out the quarterback position. Joe Flacco does not change that.
I believe we should give the coach credit for the quarterback. You don't hire a guy to a 4-year contract and force a quarterback on him.
We got to go. Undisputed.